Trats. Got out there with Dan from Low Country Fishing, and we did pretty good. We got about half a basket. Something down here. All right, so the bottom is flat. You see these ridges because we're in some boat wake right now, but you see how you have this, it almost looks like there's growth down there on the bottom, and the closer it gets to that red, the denser the wad of shrimp or whatever it is down there. Generally, if it looks like that, it's shrimp. So we drifted over that wad, and then we're coming back into another wad right here, a little small wad. This is probably a hump and not shrimp, because see how it's solid red and you don't have those little greens and yellows kind of surrounding it. So don't let those kind of things fool you into thinking that there's a bunch of stuff down there on the bottom. Here we go. See, you've got this stuff here, and see how it's kind of lifted up off the bottom just a little bit, so you can tell there's some separation from the bottom structure versus what you're marking. And that's what you're looking for. None of this is great. We're starting to get into some, see that's starting to look real good right there. We're gonna throw on that. So the tide's going out and we were going against the tide. You have to anticipate where your net's gonna land based on what you were marking. So we were going against the tide's gonna push us this way. We marked the shrimp behind us as we were coming this way. So instead of trying to back up to exactly where we just were, I let the boat keep going so that when I throw the net, we drift back onto those shrimp. When you're driving the boat, you're just basically keeping tabs on where your rope is, and just trying to stay on top of your net as best you can. See, I backed up past the net. You kind of have to play with the wind blowing you and the tide pushing you and all of that stuff to stay close to your net. I'm probably down. I'm assuming that's my net right there. And so the boat's kind of on it. I can't feel if there's any shrimp, but if you can hold the line off of the boat to where it's suspended straight down to the net, you can tell when you got a good net. It'll feel like there's electricity in that rope. Shrimp there, getting better. So the way we throw our net is pretty unique. You want to pull it into 2 bundles. Sometimes you don't get 2 bundles, so you kind of just have to fan it out until you get 2 equal bundles with just a lead line on the front and a lead line on the back. Keep the net, all the extra net just goes right over your shoulder. You want to put it over the shoulder that you're going to throw from though, because if you try to throw that way, that whole net wraps around the back of your neck and messes it up. You want it to just fly off your shoulder. So keep it tight up on your shoulder, grab your 2 bundles about 2 foot up from the lead lines, and then flip your net forward and grab this back lead line with a free finger. So you've got your group that you're pinching in your thumb and pointer finger, and then you got that back lead line in these other fingers here. From there, you're just gonna pick it up, make sure you're not standing on your rope, and you're gonna pull back and lead with this hand a little bit extra, kind of let it pull everything, and just hold on to your back lead line, let it fan out and drop it. Takes very little time to set up and is pretty easy to do once you get some practice. I've got 20 years of practice at it, so when you get to the bottom, if you hold your lead line, your line tight, you can feel the shrimp kicking up through that line when you really get on them. I didn't feel anything, but that was one of our better throws so far. Still real red-legged. They're moving. Good shrimp though. Like if we could keep this size and get on about 3 or 4 times that a throw.
And if you can get this guy to pull his net out of the bucket here and start throwing too.
Ain't no sense in it until we get on them though. We start putting some shrimp in the boat, it's gonna be time for you to get to work. So I've got like a group of the net that's kind of tangled up in the tuck line. Sometimes you just gotta stretch it out, get that out. Otherwise the net's not gonna open very well. Alright, so here's a good example of something people might not know. You can look at this shrimp and see how his legs are clear, white, and this shrimp, see how they're real red. This shrimp's been on the move, or this shrimp has been more stationary, kind of holding. So you see these down here, most of them are red-legged. That means they're moving around. Driving down the ditch, and you can see that there's shrimp all the way along the bottom of the meter here. So what I'm doing is working to the other end. When it stops showing shrimp like it is now, I know I'm past them, and then we're drifting back the way I came. So now I'll start this drift all the way back down that line of shrimp that I was just marking. And then when we get to where we're not catching them or marking again, we'll circle back around to the top side and drift back down across the shrimp again.
Alright guys, so I'll take just a quick second to show you my cast net, throwing, setup, all this kind of stuff. Now the net is a 8-foot super spreader. It's a taped cast net. It's about a pound of weight per foot. The mesh size on it, honestly, I don't remember.
Should be 5/8.
Yeah, sorry, 5/8. Yeah, because 5/8 is what's legal, right? Yep. So yeah, Walt throws a 10. I throw an 8. That's the difference between 20 years experience and about 5 or 6, to be honest. But I throw my net a little bit different. I take all 50 foot of the rope here. I coil it up into one hand. It's gonna be a big handful, I'll tell you right now. So all this is here. I grab about 1 foot behind the horn here. Stand my net up. My next grab is a little bit below the waistline here. All this gets loaded into the right hand. Now take a line from my thumb. I draw straight down, and that's where I start grabbing. And what I do here is I just split the net in half, 50-50. Very similar to how he does his. He's putting half on one side, half on the other. I'm just going 50-50 in my hand like this. So once I got it separated, I now take these 2 fingers and grab this bit of a net here, roll it over my wrist, take the line that's the closest to this thumb again. I pinch it, make sure everything is rolled over, basically inside out. My next grab goes straight down, and that's it. So this net's now ready to throw. Now when I throw, I'm just gonna go right hand over, left hand back, and let's see how she comes out. There we go. Not bad. It's a big, kind of heavy, bulky net. Sometimes it's a little bit cumbersome to throw because of the taping and all that, but she'll get down there to the bottom. Now, the best thing about these these deep water cast nets is they're taped. So as this net is basically dropping, that taping on the side is acting like a wing. So it's keeping it spread out as it drops. If you don't use a taped cast net and you just use a regular cast net in 40 feet of water like we are, that thing's gonna hit the water surface looking beautiful as can be, but by the time it gets down to the bottom, it's gonna completely close up, and your 20-foot spread cast net is gonna be about the size of that, that basket there, maybe 3 feet of opening or so. So that is not what we want. We want the taping, we want it to spread out, and once it gets down to the bottom, you're just basically gonna do a little bit of how much line do I have left in my hand, and compare that to the water depth you're in. And I can tell you guys right now, the biggest thing that I made mistakes on when I first started throwing this cast net is I rushed it. You have to slow down, you have to take your time, give this net time to get down to the bottom, because it's floating very slow due to that taping, due to that wing we're talking about. So now I can look over, we're in 40 feet of water. I know when I spread my arms out about like this is about 6 feet. I got 4 feet down the bottom, the net's not moving anymore, so I know it's sit on the bottom. Now I'm just basically gonna pull the slack out just a little bit, give it a couple little bumps, wait for that electricity like Mr. Walt told me. And then once it kind of gets bumped up off the bottom, it's just going to kind of puff the mud. It's going to tickle the shrimp and get them to jump up into that net a little bit more, which is why sometimes you'll see them kind of hanging up on the top of that horn. And then once it's up, that's it. I don't try to recoil it all back into my hand as I'm bringing it up. It's 50 feet of net. It's heavy. It's kind of cumbersome bringing it up. So I just pull it in just like this. I let all the line kind of lay down on the deck of the boat. Reach down with my arm and swing it right on in. Now sometimes you hit the mother load, sometimes you get 20, 30 shrimp, sometimes you get, I've been listening to stories of Walt and his daddy out here doing it for years, talking about how you need help pulling this thing in, It just is what it is. Sometimes you mark them good, you hit them good, sometimes you don't. But this is just a repetitive process. We're not out here, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You gotta throw this net sometimes for 3 hours to get out here and get your limit. So we're getting close. I hope you guys are enjoying the video, so let's keep throwing this thing.